All right. My girlfriend is making dinner and I've got 1 hour and I'm going to see if I can add notes so that we can basically easily create notes. So I'm just going to set a timer on my phone and then hopefully we can get all of this done and get one step closer to having this project ready. Okay, timer is set. So I fixed some of the stuff on the carousel page. So if we come into courses here, you'll see that this is just lined up a little bit nicer now. So that's all looking good. And we'll have to make it so that these have images. I'm going to do that later. We're going to focus on notes for now. And I might just get rid of some of these lessons, or at least give some of these lessons videos, because it looks like some of them don't have videos. Lessons, video URL. Maybe I should move this across a little bit. Main layout. Yeah, we'll also make it dense, and we'll say bottom right and give it an offset of is it x-axis first, I think it is. So let's say like maybe 300 0, something like that. Yeah, that's pushed it out a little bit, and I'll just give it a white background. BG I know this would be on here. I think you've got a background color. Yeah, there we go. Let's set that equal to white. And maybe we'll just say like blue, gray, just so it stands out more. 8 or something like that. You know what? I think this actually belongs somewhere else. I think it belongs in the menu. Let's just see if I can find a better way to do this. We'll jump into the main header. And we got the latency up there. Why don't we just put the menu right up there? I think that just makes a bit more sense. Okay, so then we'll grab auth. We'll put it in here. Get that imported. Get rid of that. Save and save. Give this a cheeky refresh. And now let's just get rid of that background white, blue, gray, and change it to white. Because in this context, I think white makes more sense. All right, there we go. And we should do that for latency as well. Oh, it was on latency. I think I accidentally cut that. Yeah, okay. And then we'll just say class is equal to Q margin on the left side medium. And that looks good to me. So now we can mimic being logged in up there rather than having it run into things. So all of this needs slug, sum, slug, blah. We'll just give all of this random text. When I do my presentation, I'll probably have to find a way to make this a little bit easier to present. To get all the data in there, because I don't want people to be sitting around adding data. Okay, so all of these should actually work and take you somewhere now, and they do. We got resources. I want to make this look more pretty, but that's going to be for later. And then we got our notes tab. Now, currently I'm pretty sure notes is a many-to-many relationship, so let's jump into lesson.ts. Oh, what's this about an override? An static entity override? What is that about? Never seen that before. Might be a new TypeScript thing. Quick fix. Add override modifier. All right. That's new. Huh. So, yeah, this has got notes. Okay, so it's got resources like that. Maybe it was the course that had the relationship with the notes. Note user. Oh, no, you've only got a connection between a user and notes. Huh. I'm going to have to fix all of these up now. So it's just adding override in there. Yeah, okay. I'm not sure that's what the relationship that I actually want. You know what? I think what we actually want for the notes section is just to be able to have one note per lesson. Yeah, so how about this? How about we just say on the lesson, we've got notes, which is a string, which is also going to make this much, much easier to build. No, we can't actually do that because it has to be the relationship. It has to be a specific user having notes for that lesson. Okay, so maybe this won't be as simple as I thought. So we got note user, but then we also have to add in there the lesson ID. Lesson ID. And let's see how this works out. So we got note or note singular. Yeah, but why would you... This kind of seems redundant though. You might as well just create a note specific to a lesson. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. All right, so... Oh, hang on. Note user, and then that should have a lesson on it. Yeah, lesson ID would be there. Okay, I've set up the relationship badly here. So here's what I'm thinking. On the note, I'm going to rename this and call it a lesson note. We're probably going to get a whole bunch of errors we'll have to fix, but that's okay. Vite and our linters and all that jazz will point us in the right direction. And now we can say lesson underscore notes here for the name of the entity. We've got to put in this override thing now, which is new. And now we call this a lesson note. And this is going to have a lesson ID and a user ID. Yeah, okay. So we can get rid of the belongs to many now. We might actually keep that there. So we can say belongs to, there's the decorator. All right, so we need the lesson, the note, and the user. So lesson, note, user, lesson ID. No, we don't need the note. We got the body, and then we got the user ID. Sorry, my brain's just catching up a little bit here. So this belongs to a lesson via the lesson ID, and we declare this as lesson and set that to lesson. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So we've also got via the user ID, we have a relationship to a user, and this is a user and a user there. And then we have to say or null for that as well, because it's possible for that to be null. Okay, but we do want these to be required, so let's try and make them required when we're adding the field in. Okay, so you got the name of the note. It's got a body. I don't think it even needs a name. That's kind of redundant for a lesson note. We just want to show the notes for that lesson for that user. So we can get rid of that. We can get rid of that now. And this might actually end up being simpler than I originally thought, or it's going to end up harder than I originally thought. So we now don't need this note user pivot table. All right. And I think we had like a lesson, we had like a note table. Yeah, notes table. So I can go ahead and just delete that now. Yeah, I remember we got rid of that anyway inside of the admin panel. Okay, so inside of notes, we're going to show all of the notes for this lesson for the currently logged in user. And if we can't find one, then we have to create it. Okay, so what's the best way to tackle this? We want to jump into that page. We'll call this is the lesson page. Now, I might actually do this now. One thing I wanted to do is create a composable that encompasses the entire lesson page, including the menu bar here. Yeah, actually, I'm going to save that for later. So let's just jump straight into handling this panel for notes. Yeah, so I'm going to create a new component for that. We create a Actually, no, this is going to tick me off. Let's create the architecture for this. So let's say use lesson page, or maybe even in here. Yeah, you do it on the courses page. So use, no, not courses. This would be part of the layout. Ooh, okay. So this kind of gets complicated because of the structure of the app. Yes, you'd actually do it here in the course layout, and then that store would then get injected in the lesson page as well. Okay, so use course layout.ts. I don't know. I think this could be done better. Export const use course layout is equal to define store. We'll say course layout. Maybe even just call it use course at this point. We can think about that later. Okay, and now we're going to start grabbing all the stuff from course layout and essentially just jamming it into there. So the course, the lessons, the course indexer, auth, and probably even whether or not we show the draw, might as well. I'm going to throw all of that inside of here and then get it returned. So we'll save that, get all of our imports happening. Use indexer. We don't need to do this reactive thing anymore because the Pina store is going to handle that for us. So we want to send the course in there. What's wrong with the typing there? Then we need the slug in the filters. Okay, what's the right way to do this? Okay, how about this? We say const course slug is equal to a ref. It's going to be an empty string by default. And then we say this is equal to course slug dot value. And then essentially we just need to keep this ref in sync. So that we return there the course slug. And what's wrong with that? Courses indexer. Oh, okay, so this now needs to be records dot value because it's no longer in a reactive. That, basically all this stuff needs to be returned. Now we're getting somewhere. Yeah, I don't know if you can pass options. You can't, because they're global. I don't think there's actually a sensible way to pass options to a Pina store. I don't know. I have to look into that later. Kind of embarrassed at my limited knowledge of Pina. It's just not something I've really used much in the past, but trying to use it more now. So let's say course layout is equal to use course layout. Okay, so next we can say course layout dot. Yeah, okay, we'll put a watcher on this. So we'll say watch props dot course slug, and we're going to call this immediately. Immediate is equal to true. Okay. And then whenever this course slug changes, we're basically keeping it in sync with course layout, course slug dot value. But it's not dot value because it's a Pina store. Yeah, and that's going to be equal to that. Cool. All right, so those two are going to be in sync now. We've got show draw. So all of those occurrences are going to be course layout dot show draw. We want to send all the lessons down there. Send the auth down there. Yeah. That should get us going. Looks like it's not though. Hmm. So that might have something to do with the store, maybe? No? Let's go back into the layout. I'm not seeing any errors here. Let's just try shutting the server down. Deleting the .quasar file. Running dev again. And I have a quick look to see. Whoop. Is this whole needing to add in the override going to be required now? It's weird because I just did a stream and this was definitely not required. Note user. And I reckon the reason these aren't... Oh, no, that's right. Those are no longer needed anymore. Okay, so we just need to do a bit of cleaning up of stuff like that. Resource, let's add the override here. Might as well just get this done. Go through all of these and see where our errors are showing up. That one's just an override. That's just an override. It's already got the override, so it's fine. That's fine. Override, override. Override. All right, we should be good to go now. So we still got a spinner going on that, so I don't know what is happening there. But all of that is working now in the course layout. I think. No. Let's see if we can get the Pina dev tools, Vue dev tools. And see if we can have a look at Pina. Oh, from memory, I can't. Let's just try this anyway. Vite plugin, PNPM. Go ahead and add that. And that's what it's called. Now I should be able to jump into Quasar config, Vite plugins, and then the way we install it is like this. Cool. Run dev on that. And I do want to see if we can... Okay, there we go. We can access Pina. So here's our course layout. Lessons is undefined, and so is course. Oh, okay, so that would probably be because this is immediately fetching. So rather than doing immediate there, let's just wait until that slug is set. And then we'll say course layout dot courses index dot index. I reckon that might fix it. Yeah, there we go. So just needed that slug to be there in time. So if I change to another page, that is still working. It changes from page to page. Now let's jump into the notes and we should be able to start building this now. Well, I hope so anyway. So now I'm going to start getting more specific here with these files. Let's say notes tab. Create a folder for that. Notes tab.vue. Whack in my template there. And yeah, throw in a div. And then just get that working. Notes tab. Okay, so that should be notes ... Let's see if this work. Yeah, notes ... Now it's going to be frustrating to switch between these. So let's use local storage for the current tab. And we're also going to take all of these and put them into that Pina store. So use course layout. I'm just going to throw all of this in there. First, let's just change that to use local storage because I don't want to forget to do that. And we'll just call this lesson page dot selected tab. Okay, so we'll need that, comment stuff, working with file systems, the lesson repo. We can probably actually get that another way because we already have the lessons indexer. We won't need auth because we already have it. Okay, so let's put all of that into use course layout. There we go. Find all the red spots and get everything imported. We'll need comment, and that's coming from modules. Use file, use repo. And this can be lesson slug dot. Okay, so we need the same thing with the lesson slug as we had for the course slug. So let's come in here and say lesson slug. And here we can say lesson slug dot value. And then we just want to make sure that that gets set. So we'll say here, I just want to get that part done now. Lesson slug. I'm not really convinced this is the best way to do it. But I think it'll work. Why are we not getting linting here? Not sure. Okay, so let's just steal some of the stuff from the layout. All of that there. Actually, we can probably steal all of that. And then just change it to lesson slug instead. Lesson slug. And instead of courses indexer, do we even have a lessons indexer? No, we don't. By the time you hit this page, though, you might already have the lesson slug. I'm not sure. Course layout, lesson slug. Yeah, okay. That looks good to me. Make sure that's imported. And now we can get rid of all this other stuff. So it's going to clean things up a little bit. Yeah, and I like this concept of trying to move a lot of your orchestrating logic into one composable, like your master composable that can sort of control everything easily from one spot. And then this composable, when it gets too big, you just kind of break it out into its own things. Okay, so now a lot of this stuff needs to be exposed. So we got like the lesson, selected tab, select comment creator. I might even just grab basically everything here. Selected tab. We'll come down here and add them all in. Okay. And now for all of these, we should be able to say course layout dot and then the thing. And honestly, at this point, it might be a good idea to just destructure them. Can they all be destructured? Yeah, we've got... Oh, maybe not. Only the composables can. So rather than mixing and matching, I think I'm just going to come in here and get them all directly from the course layout. All right. We don't need dot value anymore because Pina automatically flattens this stuff out. Which is kind of nice. Oop. Ah, I keep missing it. Probably could have used my editor better there. And that's about it. Everything should just fall into place now. Comments, blah. We can create comments. Resources show up. All right. And now we can start building node stuff. So we need a way to create a note. So let's come in here and say const lesson note creator is equal to use creator. Whoops, what am I doing here? And that's going to receive lesson note. Okay, so we probably want to merge some fields in here. So let's come in here and say merge. And when you're creating a lesson, I want you to set the lesson ID to the current lesson. So selected, or I think that'll just be under lesson.value.id. Okay, and then we can just coerce that to an empty string just to make TypeScript happy. Now we want a user ID, and for that we can say auth.user.id. Okay, what else? We want a body, and we might as well just default that to an empty string. Yeah, wow. So in order to create this, we won't even need to send it any data or model any data. We'll be able to just say create. Hello, I just wanted to say thank you because your tutorial really helps me a lot. Just started. I got a love heart in the way, so I can't read the whole of that message. It's just kind of silly. Maybe I can read it through OBS Studio. Oh, that's frustrating. Can I pop it out? Oh, here we go. I can pop out my chat here. Just started to use Quasar and it's amazing. Yeah, I love this framework. Oh, nice. I found a way to pop out the chat. Cool. That's going to come in handy. Okay, so we've got the lesson note creator, and it's actually going to do everything it needs to create that lesson note. And the other thing we can do now is when we get our course, so here's our courses indexer, we can get it with our lessons, we're getting it with our resources, and let's also get it with our lesson notes. Okay, we haven't set up the relationship for that yet. So let's jump into course.ts, and a course has many. Oh, actually, no. A course doesn't have knowledge of a lesson note. Okay. That's all right. We can do this. So let's come in here and say const lesson notes indexer is equal to use indexer for a lesson note. And then we can add filters in here. That's going to be a function. And we want to make sure the lesson ID is equal to the selected or the current lesson ID, which is just lesson.value.id. Okay, but I forgot to say equals here. So equals. And then we'll just coerce that to an empty string. Okay, so basically what we want to do is we want to try and find this lesson note. And if it doesn't exist, then we'll go ahead and create it. Because basically when we land on the page, the user can write notes for that video, right? But if it exists, then we want to show it here. If it doesn't exist, we want to create it and then show it here. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Let's do an immediate on this indexer. True. And we also want to rerun that indexer every time the lesson changes. So we're going to say, hey, lesson, every time you change, then I want you to go ahead and try and find the lesson notes over again. So we'll go ahead and just run a call on that every time we get a new lesson. Probably lesson slug is probably a smarter thing to watch there. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's just kind of closer to the core of what we want to watch, because lesson slug then changes lesson, and yeah. All right, so we have our filters in place. We got our lesson ID, also the user ID. We definitely want to filter to the current user. So auth.user.id. Okay. I think we might be good to go now. So then what we could do is we could run an index on this, and let's make this asynchronous. So we wait for that index to finish. And when that's finished, if we get nothing in the response, in fact, we could even write the code up here. You could pretty much do it anyway, but you could say on success. So once you're done trying to get those lesson notes, we're going to take that response and we'll say if response.records.value.length. So if you actually got some notes there, well, in that case, we would do nothing at all. But if we don't have anything inside of that response, so if there are no records inside of there, then I want you to actually go ahead and just create a lesson note. .create. And I think we can do this. We'll make this asynchronous. Yeah, so we do a create here. And then when it's done creating, we're going to run the index again. Yeah, so that thing that was created actually shows up in the store. No, I don't want to have to do that. What's the best way to do this? Okay, so I think we want to say, then go ahead and create the lesson. And then we can come in here and say on model lesson. And I should get autocomplete here, but it looks like I didn't. Oh, on lesson note created. Actually, I don't even need to do that. Hang on, I'm confusing myself here. We just want to know what the lesson note is. So we can say const lesson note is equal to computed, and then we can return repo. Hang on, lesson notes indexer. We'll pull a repo out of that, and then we can add in some querying here. So we can say where. Hello, how you doing? Gabriel. So we can say where the lesson ID is equal to that, where the user ID is equal to that, and we're going to grab the first one. Okay, I'm already thinking now, I wonder if there's a way we can make this easier. So essentially the problem we have here is we want this record to exist when the user hits on the page. But if they've never hit that page before, we don't want the record to exist, because otherwise every time you create a user, you would have to write notes for that user for every single video. And then when you add a new video, you'd have to go through every single user and add a note for every single user for that video. It just doesn't make sense. So what you want to be able to do is say, when I land on this page as a user, create the note for me unless it already exists. So this is a pretty common pattern that I have to do. So it'd be really cool if I can find ways to tackle that a little bit better with VueModel, because there's quite a bit of code we had to write just to be able to achieve that. But now we've got a way to essentially find that lesson note, and it's being returned there. And when we land on a page, so when we change the page, the lesson notes indexer runs an index, and it says, hey, if I didn't find any, I'm going to go ahead and try and create that note. So I think that might be enough for this to work. So we come down here, jump into the Notes tab, and say const, what's this called again? Course layout is equal to use course layout. And let's just whack in a pre-tag here with course layout, and we want that lesson note. So let's see if that'll work for us. Refresh the page. And it looks like it didn't. Where do I live? I live in Australia. Don't know if I have an Instagram. I think I do. It's probably Quasarcast. Okay, so what happened here? Looks like that note wasn't created. So let's jump back into here. So no, actually, let's see if that was created first. So we jump into application, and there's our lesson notes. Have we got anything in there? Yes, we do. So it looks like that was created. But it didn't get the lesson ID, so that did not work. Lesson underscore ID. So my guess is we landed on this page, and before we had the lesson, it went ahead and tried to create this lesson node. So what we probably want to do is say lesson notes indexer, or yeah, so we index this when there is a lesson slug. So what if we got rid of immediate true there? Okay, how about this? We say immediate true here, and then we say new slug, and if we actually have a slug there, then go ahead and do the index. That makes sense to me. So we don't index it immediately. We wait until we've got the slug. All right, so we call immediate on that in case we already have the slug. Otherwise, when we do have the slug, it then changes, and then the lesson indexer goes ahead and indexes again. Cool, and we don't have to make that async await. It's kind of useless in that point. So let's just delete that piece of data and refresh the page here and see what happens. We still don't have a lesson ID, so why would that be? It's almost like lesson.value isn't correct. For 5:45 in Brazil. AM. Man, you work late. Okay, come on, brain. Gotta kick this into gear. We don't have a lot of time. So it's trying to create lesson.value is not correct. So let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at our lesson and put that inside of notes. Okay, so a lesson's got a slug and it's got an ID. So maybe here, maybe we actually do watch the lesson here, because perhaps the slug is changing and the lesson hasn't changed yet. New lesson, and then I guess we could just say .id to just double check it's got an ID on it. Okay, so let's bring that back to lesson note, refresh the page here. There we go. Let's refresh that. I'm just going to delete all of them. Try it again. Do a refresh. Lesson ID, user ID, and it works. Now, when I refresh the page, we should not get a new one. It should just use the one. Good. It just went ahead and found the one that already existed. Nice. Okay, so this is working. I don't like that. That was too difficult, and I think there's things we can do with tooling to make this easier. There needs to be a way that we can say, hey, if this exists, create it. Otherwise, just give it back to me. And so I just want to say, it's basically like saying ensure. So maybe we need something that says, for example, ensure exists or something like that. I don't know. And then the first thing you give it is the details for how to find it. And the second thing you give it is something else. Actually, I love that. Let's add that here. We need an ensure exists that creates something. I already know what that will mean. On use creator. Cool. Yeah, we could essentially abstract all of this code into a ensure exists function here. Maybe. That needs a bit more thought, but hey, the seeds are there. All right, so the rest of this ideally shouldn't be too difficult. I should be able to say now const lesson notes batch updater is equal to use batch updater. Why am I not getting autocomplete there? Oh no, it's bulk. I changed the wording from batch to bulk. Okay, we give it the lesson note, and then we say here auto update is equal to, I think we could just say true here, and then we say like debounds, auto update debounds, there we go, and maybe like 800 milliseconds for that. Yeah, I think that'll do. So now we've got a bulk updater for our lesson notes. Let's go ahead and return that here. And now we can use the q-editor component, and we say v-if course layout dot what would you say? We probably want to check the lesson notes bulk updater. Yeah, lesson notes bulk updater dot forms. You know what? Let's set that here. So let's say const lesson note form. Okay. And that is going to be, and we got here immediately make forms. Yeah, we probably don't need to do that. I think it will automatically make the forms when the lesson note creator creates one. When it does that, this automatically listens for any create events and then creates forms if it needs to. Looking for Angular content and your live appeared. Oh, wrong place. I'm definitely not an Angular guy. I'm a Vue guy. Okay. So we can say, hey, return me the bulk updater dot forms dot value, and then we can say whatever the current lesson note is dot value dot id. We're going to get the whole cannot be used as an index type. Coerce that to a string. And I think that might work. So we should now have a lesson note form, which also needs to be exposed. Refresh the page, and there we go. Sweet. All right, this is getting exciting. So now we can whack in there a Q editor. Let's do that. And we can say v-model. All right, so we check if the form exists. And if it does, then we model that form, and specifically we model its body. Hang on. Lesson note form. Lesson note. I want to make sure the body is always going to be a string. Just helps with the typing. Does it fix that? No, but that's fine. It's because I think it's gets wrapped in a partial. Yeah, that's fine. Maybe we could just do this. Yeah, that works. Maybe we just do a type of is equal to string. Okay, so we need some question. Yeah, we need a question mark dot there. Nice, we get our notes section. And as we type in, the note changes. So if I refresh the page now, it still works. Cool. All right, not bad. So let's put a class on this equal to full height, maybe. And I'm just trying to think of the best way to now display this. Let's refresh the page. And then we could just say class is equal to full height. Will that do it? Maybe not. I'll probably get rid of that now. We've got a full height everything all the way up the chain, I'm pretty sure. So next we got the div that this is wrapped in, which is set to col. So that should now be full height. So the panel itself is not taking up all of the height. That's the problem. Okay. Man, this stuff always baffles me. Ugh. Did I lose the class? Yeah, maybe it needs its height to. What would happen if that was inherited? I don't know. I don't think it really matters at this point. All right, bugger. Anyway, that's fine. But if I create more space, yeah, that kind of grows anyway. To suit the space. Which is kind of annoying because I'd want it to max out. Yeah, anyway, I wouldn't have time to teach all that anyway. We want to keep it simple. So, yeah, now you can just write some notes on this and say, use creator, works well, tried this and that. Don't forget X, Y, Z, exclamation mark, refresh the page. That's still there. But if I change myself to Shannon, another person logged in, and then refresh the page, now we've got a fresh thing of notes. Log in as Luke Diebold, refresh the page, and now I've got the notes for Luke. So let's see if this works across videos now. But change the video again. Cool. All right, that's working nicely. See, we got a comment section, we got resources, which is like videos. This can be like files that are attached to it. We got notes. We open up the menu here. We can change our lessons. We can also jump into the courses page. And here's our courses. So this is something that I'll need to fix up. How much time have I got? I wonder if I can fix this up now. I've got 10 minutes. All right, so in 10 minutes, we want to be able to make it so that I can easily grab one of these images. And in order to do that, I think I need to stop using the composable and create a function for getting those images. So, okay, I can do this. Use file. So here's use file. And we need a way to get the file. So we've got file URL here. And then we call this get file URL. Store file. Yeah. Okay, so we can just use get file URL to get the file. So let's go to the admin page again. Hang on, use admin page, failed to resolve, note. Hang on, use admin page, that no longer exists. Don't need that anymore. Don't have that anymore. Cool. So essentially each of these lessons need to have a file, and that file is going to be, come on Luke, think, that's going to be an image file for that lesson. Okay, so we go to the lesson, lesson table. And as a reference, we want to say resources table, because it does the whole file thing. So I'm just going to steal the code that it has here for working with a file. Or maybe we just make it so you can attach a resource to a lesson. Huh. Yeah, okay, let's try doing that. QTD. So now a lesson also has one resource. So you can say this is, and this will be its thumbnail resource ID. Okay, so this belongs to a resource, and this isn't a belongs to many, this is just a belongs to. And we'll call this thumbnail resource, and that returns a resource back or null. Okay, so now a lesson can have a resource. Let's copy that, and we'll jump into our lesson columns here. And let's add it in there. I'm going to copy all of that. Call that thumbnail. Okay, put the comma in there. So now we've got this. Yeah, which has a key equal to that. And then we can send the props through, which is the scope. Okay, we're getting closer. So this will also have a select menu, but it's going to look a little bit different. Scope.row dot thumbnail resource ID is what we're modeling for this. The options is going to be, yeah, the resource model collection. That's actually the same thing. This is not multiple. Fill, dense, that's all fine. Yeah, I think the rest of it is actually the same. Cool. All right, that was surprisingly easy, if it worked. So now we've got a lesson, which has got a thumbnail. Hang on. But that shouldn't be a drop down. It should be like what we've got here. That's why I copy pasted that. All right, that's what I actually meant to do. So instead of file ID, we call it that. But then we have this update resource file. Use admin page, update resource. Oh, no, because we're attaching a resource. God, I'm such a ninny. That was correct. Nice. Now we can just select something, which is the thumbnail. Cool. Now I know that flowers and nebula are all images. Nebula, flowers, nebula, nebula. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, so now a lesson has got thumbnails, and that's all working and attached. So when we go to the courses page, get me my lessons, and with my lessons, get me my thumbnail resource as well. Okay, and then in the lesson carousel, courses index, what was that called again? It was called like get something, get file URL. So now we got get file URL. Let's get that imported so it's ready to go. And for the image, first of all, we say an if statement here, just in case it doesn't have one. And that's going to be lesson.thumbnail resource. Okay, so we check if that exists. And if it does, then we say get file URL from lesson thumbnail resource dot file ID. Does that need to be awaited? I bet you it does. Fuck, it does. Oh man, that complicates things. Okay, we create a new component. That's how we do this, at least for now. So let's call this resource image until we find a better solution for this. Template q image component, and then we say v-if inside of here, and that gets this receives a resource. So we can say define props, and then we get inside of there a resource. There's our resource. I'm going to rename that file to resource img. And then we say here if, hang on, const getting, we'll say making URL is equal to a ref that is false by default. And then we can say v dash, I don't know, hang on, what am I doing? Then we say get file URL, and we'll do a watch on this, const prop, so that this can be updated as well. So we can say watch props dot resource. When that changes, then we get the file, and then we can say here const file URL is equal to a ref, which is a string. And we say get file URL that hang on. File URL.value is equal to, we're doing a wait on this. Well, we make this async now. We're going to have to call this immediately. Okay. And for that, we say props.resource.file ID. And then maybe we do an if inside of that, just as a check in case it doesn't have a file ID, because that is actually possible, I think, with our current setup. And we shouldn't need that anymore. What do you get back? And then the URL or the file. Okay, so how about this? We wrap it like that, and then we say dot URL. What's it got wrong with that? String or undefined. So, okay, because this could be undefined. All right, so then okay, const URL is equal to hang on, let's call this result, and we set that equal to this. And then we can say if we got a URL here, all right, if result.url, then we'll go ahead and set the file URL to that result URL. I don't know, man, I'm going off the seat of my pants right now. If that's the case, making URL.value is equal to true. And then when we're done here, we set that equal to false. V-if we are not making the URL. b dash else. I don't know, Q spinner. That'll do for now. Okay, so now we should be able to say source here is equal to whatever the file URL is. All right, we're getting very close. Oh, there goes my timer. So now I've really got to finish up now. Core, hang on, what did we call this again? Resource image. And now what we actually send down there is the resource. Oops. Oh my God, it worked. How cool is that? I mean, it's a little bit sort of, there's a lot of things I could do, I think, to make the UI better for this. And it looks like there's a bit of like render blocking going on, but hey, it works. Yeah, there's definitely some like render blocking going on. Cool. All right. I'm done with this stream. Hope you enjoyed this one. We got notes working. We got some images showing up.